Could the key to unlocking Africa's economic potential lie in its own ancient traditions? Today, we delve into Mothupi Kgopa's African Wealth Paradigm Shift, a book that challenges conventional thinking and proposes a return to indigenous models of wealth creation. We'll uncover the hidden power of Stokvels, explore the historical context of African prosperity, and examine the forces that have shaped its economic landscape. Mothupi Kgopa's African Wealth Paradigm Shift, published in 2017, isn't just another self-help book. It's a call to action, urging Africans to recognize and overcome the structural and cultural barriers that hinder their wealth-building efforts. Kgopa advocates for a shift in mindset, encouraging Africans to unite, reinvent the Stokvel model, and invest in productive assets like property, stocks, franchises, manufacturing, and farming. The book emphasizes historical patterns of consumption, limiting beliefs about wealth, business virtues, and the crucial importance of establishing strong personal financial foundations. At the heart of Kgopa's argument is the stokvel, a rotating savings and credit association deeply embedded in Southern African culture, particularly in South Africa. But what exactly is a stokvel, and why is it so important? Often dismissed as a simple savings club, the stokvel is, in reality, a complex system of social trust, a mechanism for disciplined saving, a risk-sharing network, and a tool for microcapital formation. Historically, stokvels have served various purposes, from bulk grocery purchasing and burial societies to rotating cash payouts and emergency assistance. Before the rise of colonial cash economies, wealth in many African societies was not measured in currency but in access to land, livestock, grain reserves, trade goods, kinship obligations, control of labor, and political authority. Wealth was visible in the ability to mobilize people, cattle, harvests, and land. This asset-based understanding of wealth stands in stark contrast to the modern emphasis on cash and financial instruments. Colonial rule fundamentally altered the meaning of wealth in Africa. Colonial economies redirected African wealth into tax obligations payable in cash, migrant wage labor, land dispossession, forced commodity production, and extractive export economies. This shift diminished independence and created modern patterns where Africans had income but limited ownership of assets. Across colonial Africa, Africans were frequently barred from owning prime land, entering certain trades, holding mining rights, accessing formal credit, or incorporating businesses on equal terms. Modern financial education narratives often fail to acknowledge this history of systemic exclusion. Kgopa's call to reinvent the stokvel model echoes a much older pattern of indigenous mutual aid, cooperative farming groups, rotating labor societies, burial societies, and savings clubs. The idea of collective capital formation is not a foreign import but a deeply rooted tradition on the African continent. While African Wealth Paradigm Shift may not be a canonical historical text, it belongs to a vital intellectual tradition in Africa: self-help economics, indigenous finance, black entrepreneurship, cooperative economics, and anti-dependency wealth thinking. It contributes to a broader conversation about how Africans can build wealth from within their own communities, rather than relying solely on wage labor or external capital. This touches upon major historical questions about reclaiming indigenous financial models, shifting from consumption to productive ownership, and achieving Pan-African economic self-determination. Across Africa today, a significant portion of the population still operates partly outside formal banking systems. This makes stokvels, savings groups, village banking, cooperatives, and rotating credit associations especially relevant. In many countries, these systems are often more trusted than traditional banks because they are community-based, flexible, culturally familiar, and offer lower barriers to entry. The themes in Kgopa's book align with current African conversations about land ownership, housing shortages, small and medium enterprise growth, agricultural modernization, local manufacturing, pension gaps, youth entrepreneurship, and diaspora investment. In many African cities, property remains one of the few scalable asset classes readily available to the middle class. The book's emphasis on property is significant because urbanization is accelerating, housing demand is rising, land values often increase faster than wages, and rental income can provide long-term security. The recommendation to invest in farming and manufacturing is also especially relevant because many African economies still import processed food, household goods, industrial inputs, pharmaceuticals, and consumer products. Capital directed into these sectors can have a significant local impact. Today, African wealth building is increasingly shaped by mobile money, fintech platforms, digital cooperatives, online investment clubs, and cross-border remittances. The Stokvel model is being reinterpreted in digital form, offering new avenues for collective financial empowerment. However, a major controversy in wealth literature is the tendency to frame African underwealth as primarily a matter of bad habits, weak discipline, and poor money management. This can obscure structural realities such as colonial land dispossession, racialized capital exclusion, uneven banking access, debt dependence, extractive trade relations, political corruption, and currency instability. The book's self-help framing is useful but incomplete if it overlooks this complex history. One of the most important, suppressed histories is that African economies were not naturally impoverished. Many were disrupted by colonial taxation, forced labor, land seizure, cash crop dependence, frontier extraction, and imposed borders that fractured existing trade networks. Africans were not simply bad at wealth, many were systematically prevented from accumulating it. Mainstream Western finance models often valorize individualism and formal banking while underestimating communal saving, group accountability, trust-based lending, and rotating capital systems. This can marginalize African financial traditions as informal, when in reality, they are highly functional and often resilient. When stokvels or investment clubs grow large, they can be vulnerable to mismanagement, fraud, opaque governance, political interference, and unequal benefit distribution. This is a practical challenge that needs to be addressed to ensure the long-term success and sustainability of these collective wealth-building initiatives. African Wealth Paradigm Shift offers a compelling vision for economic empowerment rooted in African traditions. It emphasizes the importance of collective action, productive investment, and a shift in mindset to overcome historical and structural barriers to wealth creation. While acknowledging the challenges and controversies surrounding indigenous finance, this book provides a valuable framework for building a more prosperous and self-reliant future for Africa.